Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going on an adventure
Oh, where are we headed?
to the incredible country of Nepal.
Nepal. Okay, I'm intrigued. What are we diving into?
Well, we've got some excerpts from the Encyclopedia Britannica as our guide,
Okay.
and our mission is to uncover how Nepal's unique geography has shaped its destiny.
It's amazing how much diversity is packed into that one country.
Oh, absolutely.
You think about it, Nepal is sandwiched right between India and China.
It's two giants. Yeah.
Two of the world's most influential powers, no doubt. And this location has really profoundly influenced Nepal's development.
I mean, it's made it a key player in regional geopolitics, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
It's like this small nation is holding a piece of a puzzle
Right.
that both these giants need.
Yeah.
So how does this play out on the ground? I mean, what does this mean for Nepal?
Well, imagine the Gangetic Plain in India. It's basically a breadbasket for the entire region.
Huge.
Nepal, despite its size, actually has the ability to control access to this plain from the north.
Wow, that's power.
Leverage.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's no wonder that both India and China pay close attention to Nepal's actions and alliances.
And it's interesting. The Encyclopedia Britannica describes Nepal as one of the least developed countries in the world.
It is, yeah.
I'm guessing this geographical and political tightrope walk has something to do with that.
Absolutely. Nepal has received aid from various countries, but development has been challenging,
Yeah.
It's a landlocked country. It's heavily reliant on its neighbors for trade and access to the outside world. And then you add to that its incredibly diverse and often very challenging terrain,
Right.
and you can see why progress has been slow.
Let's talk about that terrain for a minute.
Okay.
Britannica paints a picture of 4 distinct physical belts running across the country.
It does, yeah.
Imagine you were trekking and you passed through all of them.
Oh, that'd be an epic journey. You'd start in the Tarai, this flat, fertile lowland bordering India.
Yeah.
That's where most of Nepal's agriculture happens,
Yeah.
supporting a large portion of the population.
Right. But then just north of that fertile land,
Uh-huh.
things change, and they change dramatically.
Yeah, they do.
The Britannica entry mentions the Churia Range, this steep, forested region rising up sharply from the plains.
It's pretty sparsely populated, known for its rugged beauty.
It's like a stark contrast,
It is,
highlighting the extremes of Nepal's geography.
for sure. And then, as you continue north, you reach the mid-mountain region,
Okay.
home to those really iconic valleys. Kathmandu and Pokhara, can you believe they were once lake beds?
Really?
Talk about a geological transformation.
Mind-blowing. I know we're both picturing those stunning snow-capped peaks.
Yes.
The Great Himalaya Range, right?
Yeah.
Dominated by Mount Everest.
Yeah,
Most of it uninhabitable, right? Due to the extreme altitude.
exactly. It's a landscape of extremes. Breathtakingly beautiful,
Yeah.
but really unforgiving. It's a testament to the power of nature's forces. Now, these mountains aren't just static features.
Right.
They are carved by really powerful rivers. Yeah.
Which shaped the land and the lives of the people.
The Britannica describes these major rivers, Kosi, Nariani, and Karnali, cutting through the Himalayas and creating these deep gorges.
They are? Yep.
They're not just scenic wonders, are they?
Not at all. These rivers hold immense potential for hydroelectric power.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the source mentions numerous projects,
Right.
both existing and proposed,
Okay.
aiming to harness this renewable energy source.
Okay, so we have these incredible rivers flowing from the high Himalayas, carving their way through the mountains.
Uh-huh.
That must have some interesting consequences down in the valleys.
Absolutely. Think about the Kathmandu Valley.
Hmm.
The article highlights how its sandy layers are actually a source of natural spring water.
Oh, wow.
And what's remarkable is how the locals have incorporated these springs into their lives.
The Britannica excerpt mentions something about stone dragon mouths.
Yes.
I'm picturing these ornate carvings. That's exactly it. They've channeled the spring water to flow through these elaborately carved stone spouts, shaped like dragon heads. The water then collects in tanks, which provides a vital source for drinking water and even for irrigating rice paddy nurseries.
That's such a beautiful blend of practicality and artistry.
It
It
is.
speaks volumes about how people have adapted to and thrived in this challenging environment.
It really does. But it's important to note that not all areas are so fortunate. The same rivers that bring life-giving water to the valleys can become really destructive forces in the lower-lying Tarai region.
Oh, right.
which is prone to flooding during the monsoon season.
Yeah, and the article mentioned that pollution is a growing problem,
It is.
particularly in the Tarais rivers.
Yep.
It points to domestic waste and industrial growth as contributing factors.
Uh-huh.
It seems like finding a balance between development and environmental protection is a challenge for Nepal.
It's a delicate balance,
Yeah.
and one that many countries are grappling with.
Right.
But let's shift our focus to the climate for a second. Now, you might think Nepal has like a simple mountain climate, but it's actually incredibly diverse.
Here's where it gets interesting, right?
Yeah,
We're talking about a country where you could experience several different climate zones in a single day.
that's right.
Right.
Precisely. The altitude variations create this incredible range of climates.
Wow.
You have the subtropical monsoon climate in the Tarai, then a shift to warm temperate in the mid-mountain region. Climb higher and you enter the cool temperate zone. Then, above 14,000 feet, you're greeted by the alpine chill, eventually reaching a realm of perpetual snow and ice above 16,000 feet.
It's like traveling through different worlds.
It is.
The Britannica article highlights the contrast between the Kathmandu and Pokhara valleys.
Right?
Kathmandu enjoys a pleasant range of 50 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit, while Pokhara, a bit further west, can get much hotter before the monsoon hits, reaching up to 100 degrees.
And Pokhara receives significantly more rainfall, around 100 inches annually, thanks to the Annapurna Range blocking those monsoon winds. It just goes to show how much variation exists within a relatively small area.
So you could start your day trekking through a steamy jungle
Right.
and end it bundled up against the alpine chill.
Exactly.
What I'm curious about is how all this diversity in climate and altitude affects the plant life.
Well, let's continue our journey northward,
Okay.
and you'll see how the vegetation mirrors these climatic shifts. We'll start in the Tarai and Churia Range, where tropical, moist, deciduous forests thrive. The Britannica entry mentions specific trees like Care, Sisu, a fun one to say, right? And the valuable sal tree known for its durable timber.
Siasu. It does sound like a word made up for a children's book.
Oh.
And speaking of children's books, I can already picture the illustrations for the next zone. What would that be?
You're probably imagining a mix of pines, oaks, rhododendrons, poplars, and walnuts. That's the Maharat range. The next step in our journey, sadly, much of the original forest here has been cleared for settlements, leaving only the most inaccessible areas untouched.
It's a reminder that human activities are impacting these landscapes,
They are.
even in a place as seemingly remote as the Himalayas.
Yes.
But let's climb higher toward the Great Himalaya Range.
Okay, so as we ascend, the forests change once again. We find ourselves surrounded by valuable stands of spruce, fir, cypress, juniper, and birch. Imagine the scent of those forests, the crisp mountain air.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like a scene from a movie.
It does.
And finally reach the alpine zone, just below the snow line, where hardy grasses provides summer grazing for animals.
That's right.
It's amazing how life adapts to these harsh, high-altitude conditions.
It is truly remarkable. And, this journey through Nepal's diverse landscapes is a metaphor for the country's overall story.
I'm all ears. What do you mean? I'm all ears. What do you mean?
Well, we've seen how this small nation is geographically constrained, yet it holds a surprising amount of power, right?
Yeah.
It's a land of contrasts, from fertile plains to towering peaks, subtropical heat to alpine chill.
It's incredible.
And this diversity, it isn't just about the landscape.
Right.
It's reflected in its political and economic realities, too.
Yeah, earlier we talked about how Nepal is one of the least developed countries in the world,
It is.
and how its location between India and China has impacted its development. It's like this constant balancing act,
It is.
navigating the interests of these global giants.
Exactly. The Encyclopedia Britannica entry even mentions how foreign aid to Nepal is often influenced by its strategic position.
So it's not always just a simple act of altruism.
Not necessarily, no.
These larger countries see Nepal as a potential ally or perhaps a buffer zone.
Right.
So it's like a geopolitical chess game,
It is.
with Nepal as this strategically important piece on the board.
Precisely. On the one hand, Nepal desperately needs assistance to improve its infrastructure, healthcare, its education system. But on the other hand, it has to carefully consider the strings that might be attached to that aid.
It must be incredibly challenging for Nepal's leaders
Yeah.
to chart a course that benefits its people while maintaining its independence and sovereignty.
Absolutely. They have to find ways to leverage their country's unique position without becoming overly reliant on any one nation. It's like
Right.
walking a tightrope, carefully balancing relationships with these powerful
I
neighbors.
mentioned earlier the potential for hydroelectric power.
We did.
Could that be a key to Nepal's future?
It could be.
A way to become more self-sufficient,
Uh-huh.
less reliant on foreign aid?
It certainly has the potential. The article highlights the abundance of rivers cascading down from the Himalayas.
Right.
Harnessing that energy could provide a really clean and sustainable source of power for Nepal, even allowing them to export electricity to neighboring countries.
But I imagine there are challenges too.
Of course, building dams and hydroelectric plants in such rugged terrain, it's a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
And there are always environmental concerns to consider. The impact on river ecosystems,
Right.
the potential for landslides. Those are factors that need careful consideration.
Plus, I'm sure India and China would have their own opinions about large-scale hydroelectric projects in Nepal,
I'm sure they would.
given their own energy needs and regional ambitions.
You're absolutely right. These projects become part of that geopolitical chess game we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Nepal would have to carefully navigate the interests of these powerful neighbors, ensuring that any energy development benefits its own people first and foremost.
It's a complex situation with no easy answers.
It is.
It makes you really appreciate the challenges faced by a nation like Nepal.
For sure.
We've only scratched the surface here, focusing on the geographical factors,
Yeah.
but I can already see how deeply they are intertwined with every aspect of Nepal's story.
It's a reminder that geography isn't just about maps and mountains. It shapes history, culture, economics,
Yeah.
even political destiny.
What strikes me is the incredible resilience of the Nepalese people.
It is.
They have adapted to this challenging environment and created such a rich and vibrant culture. I'm thinking about those dragon mouth fountains we discussed earlier.
Yes,
That's just one example of their ingenuity and artistry.
exactly. And there's so much more to explore beyond these geographical basics. We haven't even touched on the spiritual significance of the Himalayas, the ancient trade routes that crisscross these mountains, or the Sherpa people who've become synonymous with mountaineering.
It's like we've just opened the first page of a fascinating book. There are chapters on history, culture, religion, adventure, and so much more waiting to be explored.
It's a testament to the power of a deep dive, you know?
Yeah.
We start with a seemingly simple topic, the geography of Nepal,
Right.
and we uncover a world of interconnected ideas and stories.
So for you, our listener, what does this all mean? We hope you've gained a deeper understanding of the complexities of Nepal. It's a country shaped by powerful geographical forces, caught between these global giants,
It is.
fiercely independent. But more than that, it's a country with a soul, a spirit of resilience, and a story that's still being written.
And that's where I want to leave you with a thought. Knowing how geographically constrained Nepal is, how might this impact its future development, especially in terms of balancing its relationship with those powerful neighbors, India and China?
That's a great question to ponder. It's almost like this dance, isn't it?
It is.
Nepal needs to meet its economic needs, manage the political pressures from its neighbors,
Right.
and somehow still maintain its own unique identity.
Exactly. And as the world changes, how will Nepal adapt and thrive in this complex geopolitical landscape? It's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity.
It really makes you think, if they can successfully navigate these challenges, could they become a model for other nations facing similar pressures?
It's possible.
A model for balancing economic development with environmental sustainability, all while preserving their cultural heritage.
That's a fascinating thought. It's certainly something to watch for in the coming years. It reminds me of that old saying, sometimes limitations can breed creativity and innovation.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe this deep dive has inspired you to explore even further. Maybe you'll delve into Nepal's rich cultural traditions, or read about its history, or even plan a trek to experience these majestic landscapes firsthand.
There's a whole world waiting to be discovered within the borders of this one incredible country. It's a reminder that learning is a journey, and sometimes the most fascinating destinations are the ones we least expect.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Nepal. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.